This is Felice, your host of The Cell. I invite you to listen to our program every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. I would also like to thank you for listening to Community Radio on WGRN LP 94.1 FM, Columbus. I'd like to welcome our listeners back for Part 2 with Bob Fitrakis. If you listened to last week's show, Part 1, and if you had a chance to Google Bob, you will see that over his lifespan, that he is a man that has kept his finger in the political world within Columbus and nationally. He's a professor at Columbus State. He's an attorney. He's written several books. He runs the Columbus Free Press, and he also has several radio shows. He has Fight Back on WSMZ 103 FM. The Other Side of the News, WGRN 94.1 FM. He also has the Fitrakis Files from 8 to 9 on Thursdays. You can call in to be part of this discussion at 614-224-7830. So sit back and enjoy Part 2.
What have you guys done differently with the Columbus Free Press? Because I know that the actual physical paper was distributed to various parts within Franklin County. Now that it's COVID time, how are you guys handling that now? What are you doing differently?
Well, we're putting out a lot more information on our website and through podcasts and really through the so-called social media. For example, we were putting out reports from Ohio during Election Day, reporting any incidents prior to the election, as well as intimidation by hate groups. So we're much more reliant on social media, and also, we've put out a lot of books over the years, including some through the Free Press. Right now, we're working on the 50th anniversary book of the Free Press. We envision a coffee table book. With a lot of our covers.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Yeah.
And one of our covers, one thing I'm most proud of, we made posters of all the Klan leaders and put their picture on it. We hired black investigators who got us pictures and where they lived. And so we put out wanted posters in their neighborhood. And a lot of their neighbors didn't know they were Klan members. So we had big wanted. So we're going to put some of those in the book.
Wow.
Wanted for hatred, just stuck with the facts. Yeah. how and we had sketches made of them. We had a real good sketch artist, John Bailey. So he sketched them out for us. And we said where they worked, what their address was, so if people wanted to get to know them.
Ernie, you got a question for Bob?
They kept coming down and putting their hoods on, hiding, so I just figured it'd be much fairer if, we outed them.
Yeah. Bob, did anyone from city reach out to you, be part of this new citizen oversight committee, or did you reach out to put your, to be considered?
No, I'm not on good relationships with most of the political staff. Remember in 2016, I ran on a little premature. If you look at my posters and bumper stickers, they say Black Lives Matter. That was 2016. So I'm always a little off with my my campaigns. I'm a little prematurely early with the topic du jour. But I did. I was the NAACP attorney for 4 years. So we negotiated a civilian review board a while back and actually got the FOP to agree with it. But the NAACP wouldn't sign off unless our first and only black mayor, Michael Coleman, agreed to put it in the charter or as a statute. So he wouldn't do that. He just wanted it as a pilot program. So we could have had the Civilian Review Board a while back. And again, I was quoted actually in the Dispatch, which seems to be doing a little better job now that they're not run by the Wolf family. In the old days, we used to say it was like the Wolf family newsletter. John Wolf, John W. It's like, people send you that newsletter at Christmas time telling you how great they are, wonderful things.
Yeah.
That was sort of what, the Dispatch was under the Wolves. Like, hi, we're the greatest family in history of the earth. We deserve to be rich. And everyone else is an idiot.
That sounds like Trump.
Well, we had our own, version here, right? At one point, they owned 93% of all the print media, right? They used to own everything. The community newspapers, This Week. They bought up The Alive. I used to be the investigative reporter at The Alive. And they bought it up, all that stuff about Epstein and Wexner. And then they deleted everything I ever wrote, all these articles, even if they wanted. Well, it's hard to have extra space on a computer. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they just wanted to delete that whole history. So, but all we did then was say, let's have a book company. I wrote these articles. So Suzanne worked very hard to, get those into book form. So they're still around. You can read, Spook Air about drug trafficking and drugs coming in to Columbus and being spread all over the east side of the city. And a lot of the people that were doing it were friends of the CIA, also known as the Cocaine Importing Agency.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before. Yeah.
I'm the first that I've ever heard of it. God.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, no, they. What do you need to know? I can tell you the entire history of it. From for Lucky Luciano, right? They let him out of prison in exchange for the mob helping out in the invasion of Italy and with Mussolini and the CIA dealing with drug runners during the Cold War, right? National security trumped everything. So they were, but yeah, a lot of the CIA activity, they ran opium in Vietnam out of Long Chen Air Base in Cambodia.
Wow.
And there was Sin Quan airline. It was called Air America. And they had a fake airline that they allowed a man named Vong Pao, a former French colonialist and traitor to his own people, to run drugs. And they ran drugs into Thailand. They ran it into Vietnam. They ran it into the Philippines. Their number one target was U.S. troops. 13% of all the U.S. troops had a heroin habit, by the early 70s. And those were our allies spreading that stuff around, who really, we were using them to fight the communists in Laos, the Pathet Lao, as they were known. So, the CIA once said during the hearings during the 1970s, there were various hearings on the CIA. They said, look, we weren't looking for good citizenship, right? Just like Iran-Contra. The Iran-Contra airline, Air America, became Southern Air Transport, and they ended up out there at Rickenbacker Air Base, brought in by state money from Governor Voinovich to bring the most notorious gun and arms dealing airline in the world to Columbus, Ohio, because it got thrown out of Miami. And thank God Jeff Epstein was able to work on that with logistics.
Bob, how many books did you write? Because I see you wrote a lot of books.
Yeah, some of them Some of them are longer than the others. The first one there on the failure of the Socialist Party in America, that was my dissertation, which I turned into a book, but that one took 10 years. But it's considered a definitive classic on why there was no American exceptionalism, which a term you now hear, one of my areas of expertise. But, why don't we have a progressive left mass party in the U.S.? Why does the left-wing party be centrist? And why are the Republicans, particularly under Trump, neo-fascists? I mean, who has a mass fascist party?
Well, I asked because I saw that you wrote How the GOP Stole America's 2004 election, and I know you talked about that, so I couldn't help but to ask you just your thoughts on this year's election and what's going on post-election, essentially.
Well, I think in this case, we were looking at the standards for what would be considered a red flag. I was an international election observer. I co-wrote the report to the UN, and I was the editor of that report in 1994, the first free election in the history of El Salvador. So I helped negotiate between the FMLN, the left-wing guerrillas, and the right-wing death squads, who were notorious. But down there, what you look for, and I think we should look for it here, is when people say they're voting a certain way, the exit polls and the field polls before the election, when you have these implausible results, when it's, 5, 10, 15 percentage points, or statistically what we call 3 standard deviation outside the norm, where only one election out of 99 at best would ever fall into that category. When you start, when people start winning, like George W. Bush wins all the key swing states in 2004, you've got to question the validity of the election. You got to make sure that you got to check out who owns these machines. I mean, what sort of country allows private, for-profit, partisan companies to secretly program the voting machines? Should be absolutely unacceptable. Fortunately for this one, the polls don't seem to indicate any huge, deviant, unacceptable shift. But on the other hand, I think Mr. Trump's strategy is to make a variety of claims and tie things up and hope that, the recount in Wisconsin and in Georgia, that in those cases, maybe it could lead to not seating electors. Hence, Biden doesn't get to 270, then it gets thrown into the House. It's a long shot strategy, but it's all Trump has left.
Do you think that they will try to mess with the counts in Georgia and Wisconsin?
I think so. And the question is, where are these machines? These machines, should have been all roped off like a crime scene if you're going to, use these for a recount. And again, who has access to these machines? When we were recounting in Ohio in 2004, people would show up without appointments. In Hocking County, a member of the Rapp family showed up with Triad Company and for the recount without an appointment, and then said the machine went down. But luckily, this was the central tabulator, otherwise known as a 13-year-old Dell computer. He just happened to have a new hard drive in his car and came in and installed a new hard drive and said, look, just don't turn it off. Everything will match perfectly. So Cheryl Eaton, the Democrat deputy director down there, went to John Conyers, the legendary congressman who wrote a report, on what happened in Ohio. And he used a lot of my data, which later became one of the books I'm very proud of, called What Happened in Ohio, a documentary history of theft and fraud, where we outlined all the irregularities, beginning with the stuff in the Conyers report. So, why are these private? Ohio's not a swing state. It's only a swing state after you eliminate 485,000 voters who are overwhelmingly poor people of color.
If you guys excuse me for a minute, we need to take an identification break.
Hi, this is Ernest Kelly with the Faith Thomas Foundation. You're listening to The Cell on 94.1 FM, WGRN, and WGRN.org worldwide. Listen to us every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m.
Let's eliminate 500,000 Republicans and see if it's still a swing state. Think about this. They got computers, and you have to show ID. So in that scenario, why would you be eliminating anyone in a state that requires ID? They got to show where they live. Why would you be deregistering them because they didn't vote in the last two federal elections? You don't take away somebody's right to free speech because they haven't, in the last 2 years, they didn't practice it, so they can't speak anymore. Why would you delete people from the voting rolls when they have to show ID? And there's plenty of room on the computers to hold their name.
It's called Press the Vote. How many radio shows or podcasts do you do?
Oh,
and can you give us those names?
I do one a week, but I've been doing a lot of other radio too for other channels as well. But I've been doing a weekly one for a long period of time. I did college radio, but then I got back involved in radio when after Bill Moss ran for mayor, and I was his campaign manager. And then he headed back and was working with Percy Squires at WVKO, and he asked me to come on and do work there. And we used to do Fight Back with Dr. Bob Fitrakis. And again, both Bill and Percy allowed me to do. We used to take calls from prisoners. And the Ohio Department of Corrections said they were going to sue us because we were inciting riots. And the inciting riot, when someone would come out and go, "These guards here are brutal. They beat me. They got to quit beating." And then you hear the screaming, "Ah! Ah!" They'd beat them right on the air. And then 30 days later, I remember this one guy. 30 days later, you get out and go, "As I was saying before they put me in the hole, these guys here are from..." And then you can hear them beating them again. And I was like, I don't think I'm inciting the riots. I'm not beating anyone on the air.
That is crazy.
I've listened to one of Bob's The Other Side of News shows, and the one I caught was him and Harvey Wasserman, where he was talking with Harvey, and I tell you, it is, any of our listeners, you really gotta tune in and check Bob out on that. That was really informative. It was a show that you and Harvey had did probably the second round of the NBA Finals, because you guys were talking about the corruption scandal here in Ohio, and I tell you, it was great, and you can tell you guys are great friends because you were going back and forth with each other, just cracking each other up. So, but yeah, you really got to check that out because I think you interview different people, weekly, right, Bob?
You're right, yeah. And I try to draw out some different perspectives. But yeah, now Harvey, I inherited him when I took over the Free Press in '93. He was already the senior editor. Yeah, he wrote his own history, Harvey Wasserman's History of the U.S. back when he was 24. So when I first met him, I thought he was going to be 80, 90 years old, but he was only a few years older than me. So I'm thinking, if he can write some books, I can write. And we've written 7 books together. And we've won awards together as well. But most of the stuff we wrote, 2 of my favorite anthologies we wrote during the illegal war on Iraq. One was called George W. Bush versus a Superpower of Peace, and we were with the Superpower of Peace. And the other one was simply called In Prison Bush. So we wrote a book outlining why we thought he was a war criminal.
Ernie, what radio station were you listening to so that our listeners know where to find that information at?
It's on. I think they put it on YouTube, but I actually looked at it on WGRN web. But I believe you guys do have a YouTube channel, right, Bob?
Yeah, we do. And somewhere on the YouTube channel and on archives.org, Suzanne did 10 straight years down there of public access TV. So, there was a whole lot of footage. And I think we got every protest that occurred in the 1990s.
Bob, I feel like we can probably ask him so many questions and we'll be here another 4 hours. But I just wanted to thank you, Bob, for joining us today and blessing us with your presence and your insight and your history and all of your experience.
Well, I appreciate that.
And
I agree.
I
agree.
And Bob, I want to thank you for coming on. Like I told our listeners, I said this is going to be an exciting guest. You have been, like Steffi and Ernie said, you have been a wealth of information. If you Google Bob, you will find out that he has so much, even listening now, so much that he's been involved in. That's why I was like, God, he's 90 or 130 to be involved in so much that he's been involved
No, that's
in.
Harvey. That's Harvey Wasserman. He's 90.
You just had to get your dig in, didn't you?
If I ever see him, Bob, I'm going to tell him you said that.
No. For the record, he's only 74. Really?
Well, we also know Bob from his part and role that he's played with WERN, and him and I happened to meet him at a health fair. It was on Mount Vernon, I think, someplace up in there. And he was, representing the Columbus Free Press. And then somehow when I ended up being a guest on the radio show, then I found out that I was in the Columbus Free Press building. And then that's when I met Susan. I said, I met your husband. So it's just crazy how things come back into a circle. And then even like Ernie said that he's been listening to Bob when he realized who he was like, I've been listening to you on WVKO. Yeah, so...
Yeah, they used to, I can't remember the year, but they used to have a show on, I think it was early Saturday mornings when I used to catch them because I was on my way to work.
That was
Bob was on there with Bill Moss. And I was trying to remember the guy who was the moderator. I couldn't think of his name.
The moderator.
Yeah, and I tell you, they used to have some real deep discussions about things going on in the Columbus community.
Yeah, that was all corruption all the time. We were calling out a lot of people.
Hey, Ernie, you asked him, was he scared? Bob wasn't scared of nothing.
I know.
Detroit prepared him.
That's right. No, when I was writing about Jeffrey Epstein, I got 2 letters saying Jeffrey Epstein equals toe tag. And toe tag usually means the corner. I'm thinking, this it? This the best you got to scare me? That I'm going to be in the coroner's office with a toe tag? I don't even know I'm going to even interpret this death threat right.
Hey, Bob, were you pulling Harvey's leg when you said you were writing a book on aging hippies? Were you pulling this? Were you really serious about that?
What did I tell him? That I was writing a book on aging hippies?
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, this is true. I was an 18-year-old in college, and I pick up this book, Harvey Wasserman's History of the U.S. I read about it in Rolling Stone. It got a big review. And I'm looking at it, and Harvey's on the cover dressed like a farmer. But I didn't know he was only 24 years old. I thought he was like this 40-year-old farmer.
Bob, I've learned a lot. It was like I Googled you, and I'm like, what? What's all this? I said, Bob been busy. Let me know when you get that book. Let me know when y'all get that book together, that coffee table book.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to start. We're going to work on it, I think, over break. But, yeah, we're going to run a lot of the old articles and a lot of the old cartoons and covers.
I think that'd be great. Let me know when you get it together. Bob, We thank you for coming on the show. Really, we do. This is the most fun I've had in a minute. So do you have any last-minute things that you'd like to say to our listeners?
Support community radio and support, shows like this and those that bring them to you. So, again, look and search out the other side of the news and, of course, speak truth to power. And, again, the job should be to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. Peace be to all.
Okay. I like that. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Well, with Bob's last word and that being said, peace out.
The Faith Thomas Foundation would like to thank you for listening to The Cell. We broadcast on WGRN 94.1 FM every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. You can also stream us live on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. on WGRN 94.1. For more information on the Faith Thomas Foundation, please visit our website, Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is Faith Thomas FDN.